scientists say Michelle Obama's nutrition facts and the labels aren't actually based on science. You blinded me with your science. I'm glad you're here. I'm Kennedy. Oh, hello there, and welcome to you. The show is big and glorious. Hillary Clinton has declined to debate Bernie Sanders again just before the California primary. Solid tactics or just a poor debater? Let me ask my flammable party panel. Tonight it's Janice Dean, Fox News senior meteorologist and author of Freddie the Frogcaster and the Terrible Tornado. Get all the Freddie books for your kids today. Young readers absolutely love them. Mike Baker is here, former CIA officer and president of Diligence LLC, jazz hands for all. Michael Malice is here. He's the author of Dear Reader, and he's also an Observer columnist. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
It's a great Tuesday to be alive and talking about politics. I think we can all agree on that. So, Baker, I want to talk to you about this because there are lefty columnists who are saying, like, why does everyone hate Hillary? They're scratching their heads. They can't figure it out. Her unfavorables are as high as Trump's. Why do they hate her?
This part mystifies me.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. Some people are very likable. Some people aren't. She is not particularly likable. There's not a science to it necessarily. There's nothing she can do to change that. It's just human nature. She's trying. She's working very hard at it. But I think, you know, Trump's got, people say, well, Trump has to be careful now going into these debates, you know, and into the general. He's got to be very careful about what he says to her, and he can't push too hard on this whole Bill Clinton thing. I think people are wrong because, again, because of this unlikability, she's an unusual candidate in that sense. If she was somebody else, I think that, yes, he'd have to be very careful. He's got some leeway here in the attack mode because of this problem she's got.
Well, no, I mean, he can get her in a position where she's defensive on a position or on a subject she doesn't want to talk about, and if he's really good, he'll get Bill all fired up and hot under the collar. So what does pulling out of the debate say about her?
It says that she's a control freak. Like, her entire career has been secrecy and being control freak, starting with '93 with the healthcare sessions she had, which were held under lock and key, with the server earlier this year. This entire woman's career is based about obsession, controlling the message, and that's really hard to do now that she doesn't have control of the media. And you have social media where she's being hit left and right mercilessly.
I mean, literally by, as you pointed that out first on the show, by Bernie and Trump simultaneously.
Yes, and over the weekend, Clinton's campaign strategist said his response to what Trump is doing is to say nothing. We don't care what he says. And Claire McCaskill, senator from Missouri, said, if Hillary acts like herself, it's going to be just fine. Nothing to see here, folks. She's going to win easily.
I still don't understand what is herself. And speaking of which, is it just garden variety misogyny that we're dealing with here? Is that why people don't like her?
You know, I hear outside of the political realm, she's actually a really cool person that likes to toss back some beers and wear a lampshade once in a while. I'd actually like to see that Hillary Clinton. I don't think we've ever seen that before. But, you know, I have to say, I think part of it is we have seen her for so many years. I mean, I just feel like I'm kind of over it. And the same with Donald Trump, too. I feel like, and we have debated it. I feel like we've had so many debates. We're done with the debate. So I kind of see her point, although I do think that if she did debate on Fox News, she could get some voters.
It would be such a different kind of debate, though.
I agree.
If one of them could emerge from that, I mean, that is a true test, but I do believe that the three moderators would be incredibly fair to both of them.
Agreed.
They would challenge them, they would press them in a way that was respectful, and whoever emerged as the victor would emerge as the victor. Who's the victor?
But I don't think she's. I don't think there's any chance that she is making this decision on her own. You've got two opposite types of candidates. Trump is not listening to anybody. She's surrounded by a team of tacticians, right? And they don't see any upside. I think rightly so. They see no upside to extending the visual of her next to Bernie.
Fighting Bernie.
Reminding people that she can't shake this guy.
No, you're absolutely right. So maybe in the end, on her end, it's very brilliant. Well, Madam Clinton is thumbing through her Rolodex to select a running mate. But Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid is already against a few of her top choices. Back off, Hillary.
As a strategist, do you think it's wise to even consider pulling somebody like a Sherrod Brown or an Elizabeth Warren out of the United States Senate at a time when Democrats are trying to win the body back?
If we have a Republican governor in any of those states, answers not only no, but hell no.
Still with the dark glasses?
Still with the
What
breathing.
happened with that exercise equipment? Is a purple state VP a bad idea for Clinton? I mean, I guess my question here is the Democratic Party is obviously in total disarray. Yeah. I mean, there's a full-on revolt from all sides. But what's more important to them, the presidency or the Senate?
Well, they're freaking. For Harry Reid, it's definitely the Senate.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
But isn't he done?
Well, he still wants the control of his agenda, but he's freaking out because we all remember 3 or 4 months ago when Trump's going to lose in a landslide and Hillary's going to have these coattails and they're going to have a 60-member supermajority. Yeah. And now already Trump and her are tied. And throughout this campaign, Trump has gone up and she has not been able to battle back one single argument against her. He's defeated 16 candidates with the Republican establishment against him and with the Democratic establishment at her back. Yeah. She can't beat one doddering old fool. Yeah. So Harry Reid is freaking out with good reason because if they don't get the Senate this year, they're not going to be able to get it for 4 years at least.
No, and his point is if you take one of these candidates from a Republican state, the margin could be so razor thin that could be enough to keep the Senate in Republican hands.
And they don't have a deep bench. They don't have people they can go to to fill those slots. I'm just gobsmacked that the interviewer referred to Harry Reid as a strategist. My mind went blank as I looked at him. I thought, in what world is Harry Reid a strategist?
He stole the Senate by convincing Jim Jeffords to switch parties. That's pretty strategic and smart.
All right, fine. Make me look like an idiot. All right.
And
Not that that's difficult,
He also held the Obamacare vote before Scott Brown was sworn in.
He's still making news, God love him. And isn't he supposed to be retired? I think he should just sit back and have the margaritas and go on the beach and just ignore or just love the retirement that's going to come.
No, but he's having a longer retirement than Derek Jeter or Oprah. I mean, really, it's like, dude, just go home.
Is Oprah retiring?
Go back to Reno. Well, she doesn't do her couch jumping show anymore.
I was going to say we should be talking about that.
I know you still see her when you thumb through the pages of her magazine.
Well, I do. I have DVR'd all her shows, and I just watch them over and over.
We need more Oprah.
We do.
Baker's the only one who's still got TiVo.
Yeah. I'm the only one who's still got a VHS machine. Remember they used to come up and you put the tape in? And
what?
Yeah.
What is this? All right. Much more with the party panel coming up. The VA secretary makes a comparison between medical wait times and lines at Disneyland. We'll tear that metaphor to shreds. And a little later, Facebook says it is tweaking its trending topics to avoid liberal bias. Dana Perino recently met with Mark Zuckerberg. What the zuck went on in that meeting? We'll find out. Please stay here. Now, this is very serious, and I'm a little bit peeved about it. Yesterday, VA Secretary Robert McDonald made a fun analogy about the lengthy wait time for veterans needing critical medical care.
When you go to Disney, do they measure the number of hours you wait in line, or the number, what's important? What's important is what's your satisfaction with the experience?
Good metaphor or best metaphor? Let's ask my gloriously returning party panel. It's Janice Dean, Mike Baker, and live from the 80s news chopper, it's Michael Malice.
He's been holding that pose for a minute now.
My arm really hurts.
Yeah, his triceps are shaking. Janice, this upsets me on so many levels. First of all, he's wrong because Disney does tell you exactly how long you can expect to wait on every single ride. Number one. And number two, they have something called Fast Pass.
They do.
So if there's a ride you really want to get on, you take your Fast Pass and then you go back when the line is going to be much shorter for you.
He obviously has not been to Disney lately.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I just put my hands on my head because I mean he should be in the unemployment line waiting because that is just the comment is incredibly in bad taste. It's awful.
And it's so rude because Baker, we're talking about people who are taking their kids to a theme park. Right. Maybe waiting in line in the hot sun to go have some fun, but they've got snacks and camaraderie. At the VA, people who wait in long lines die.
Right. No, that's absolutely true. It's a horrible attempt on his part to do what I don't know. But look, we have to remember Secretary Zippy or whatever his name is, he was put in that position in response to all the outrage over the VA. And so this is now what we get. The fact that he is unaware, just on a simple level, this doesn't even address how awful the metaphor, but it's just on the simple level, he doesn't understand that Disney knows exactly how long people wait because that feeds into client satisfaction.
Exactly.
And the fact that he doesn't understand that an important part of what his organization does is immediately respond to all those people who are looking for VA help is insane.
Okay, but here's what I think. And I learned this in ninth grade from my beloved history teacher, Keith Hertstrom, who told me waiting in lines is for communists. That's what they do in communist countries. We don't do that in the United States
But you
of
just
America.
talked about how much you wait in line at Disney. Listen,
But Disney has figured out a way
but you're still waiting in
don't have
lines.
to wait in
Listen,
line
if
as long.
the choice is between standing with all those running around kids and all those average-looking families or getting colonoscopy, I don't know which one I'm picking. But what he was saying is
It's not the colonoscopy, it's the prep that really gets you.
And by the
fair.
way, don't skip the colonoscopy.
That's fair.
When
That's also
when
fair.
it's time, start getting your
All
colonoscopy.
he was saying is experience is not necessarily a function of time. If I have to wait 10 hours for a doctor and that doctor cures me, as opposed to someone giving me poison in 5 minutes, it's not necessarily the time that's the problem. That said, the VA is a mess. It's a complete disaster. And the fact that the Democrats and the government in general is so tone deaf when it comes to their messaging, if he had just said it in the way I'm saying it, we're worried about, people's customer safety and things like that.
Overall satisfaction.
Right. Instead of just like, oh, let them eat cake and let them wait online, which is what he effectively said. He sounds like an awful person.
Yeah. No, he really does. And I'm so frustrated by this on a number of levels. Number one, I share your frustration with Disneyland. Like, sometimes I can't stand being there, but it brings the kids so much joy. But when you actually are waiting for weeks and months, because it's not a matter of waiting in a crowded waiting room to see a general practitioner for 4 or 5 hours. People are waiting for months, and he said that it's not fair to measure the time you try and register an appointment to the time you're actually seen. Of course it's fair.
To be a complete cynic, the military does not vote Democrat, so they're not as high as a priority. It's like when the president of the UFT said when the students vote, then they were going to care about them. This is just politics, pure, plain and simple.
Yeah, that is enormously cynical. It's not. I mean, I don't disagree with you, frankly. But the idea that we would put a D or an R opposite any vet, it just makes me sick.
Yeah.
But I suspect that there's something to that. Look, the problem is going to be that now we're all clamoring for his apology.
Yeah.
Right? As if somehow that's going
We're
to fix the
clamoring
problem.
for his head, him and Neffinger, TSA. And,
so it's going to have no impact whatsoever.
No impact. It's low impact aerobics here. And no one's sweating to the oldies.
And we still love Disney World.
We absolutely do.
Oh, yeah.
Not Disney World because they don't serve booze. Disneyland, 2 thumbs up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's true.
Oh, okay.
You've been warned. The party panel returns. Welcome back. Yesterday, Congress announced that Kelly Hogan, the TSA's head of security operations, has been removed following a hearing on the agency's mismanagement. Hogan had received a substantial bonus, $90,000 over 13 months, despite a scathing report of security failures at airports and record-long lines. Is the TSA fixed, or is the problem systemic?
Systemic.
The party panel is back, and look at them go. Oh, Charlie's Angels. I'll be Charlie. It's Janice Dean, Mike Baker, and Michael Malice.
Pose. Isn't that right, Janice?
So, firing one guy who's the head of security at a massive agency, does that do anything?
No. I mean, it creates a headline, makes people feel, better. But again, it's a cosmetic change that has no impact on the structure of the organization. You could argue that both the VA and TSA need to be privatized to actually make these things work in a meaningful way.
I would make that argument. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
How would that happen, though?
Oh, it would happen. It would happen. Put me in charge and I'll make it happen.
Okay.
Is there any accountability with organizations like this?
Listen, you joked earlier about Russia. I was born in the Soviet Union. The TSA explicitly have signs that these are no-joke zones, and everyone is made a hostage by this organization because you're standing there in fear while people physically assault you and go through your things, okay? There is ABC News, of all places, had an article that said, top 20 airports where the TSA steals from you.
Oh.
So this is ABC. This is some weird fringe InfoWars thing. Like, they steal. My friend Jay had his watch stolen. There's no accountability because they look through the things. They can pocket it. What are you going to do about it? You can't have a camera in there. These people are awful, and this fish stinks from the head. So, this is absolutely a culture of corruption. They get these disgusting thugs.
Sounds like something my Italian grandmother would say. I'm not even Italian.
There are these disgusting thugs who are going to raise their voice to you as a law-abiding citizen, and it's just security theater. It doesn't make us safer at all.
That's exactly right. It doesn't make us safer, and those long lines.
It's terrible. I mean, and we sit there, and it's one thing for me to go through it, but to have my children there, have them take off their shoes, throw out their little apple juice because we can't bring the apple juice. It's terrible. And I read this. So for some of these lines, cities are deciding that they're going to bring in clowns to entertain people. Did you read this?
It's like
clowns, and then we've got like little ponies coming in. I mean, you talk about theater.
I don't
now
eat
her into
Patch
a circus.
Adams.
Yeah, but
I need efficiency, people.
And my kids will be terrified.
Well, look, there's another problem.
I tested positive for explosives in front of my girls.
Really?
Yeah.
That's your personality.
That's what they said. All right, on Friday, the First Lady will roll out FDA new nutrition fact labels as part of her Let's Move campaign. A group of scientists have written an angry letter saying that the new label is misleading and demonizes sugar, despite no sugar experts actually sitting on the committee when they came up with and designed the standards. Shouldn't parents be the ones who are accountable for what their children eat and not the government?
Absolutely. I pack my kids' lunch every single day.
That's right,
now,
Katie.
when I was in school way back in the day, we had French fries and hamburgers and hot dogs and muffins that we used to slice and put tons of butter on.
Muffins.
It was delicious. But I do think that as parents, it's our responsibility to make sure that our kids are getting good food. And look at what they are serving in these cafeterias these days.
It's
wilted lettuce and something that looks like a patty.
And soy.
It's awful.
It's soy dust. What's a worst case scenario here?
That she runs for president.
Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama, that she runs for Senate.
Can you imagine if she's doing this with food labeling?
But this isn't even, I mean, sugar is unfairly demonized. I'm trying to get abs for the first time in my life, and I've got this high-carb diet. I eat sugar a lot, and I'm down to like a 26-inch waist, and I still don't have them. So
oh, my goodness.
It's really kind of scary.
With or without the girdle, the 26-inch waist.
Man spank.
Baker.
I learned that from Camille.
It makes this idea of more and frequent and greater government intrusion, it makes my head explode. But in a simple sense,
becoming a libertarian.
If it wasn't for the isolationist view, then yes. But that's
not
where I differ.
It's non-interventionist.
Non-interventionist. I like it. You haven't had a good intervention. Because sometimes intervening on a small country.
Baby, you haven't been to my house on Thanksgiving. There's an intervention every year. Last week, there were reports emerging that Daniel Craig has turned down a chance to reprise his role as James Bond in 2 more films. Don't do it, Daniel. X-Files star Gillian Anderson later responded with the tweet of herself on a Bond poster. Could the next secret svelte agent be Jane Bond? Of course, I'm going to go to you first because you were actually James Bond. Yeah. So can we have a lady Bondian?
Sure, we could have a lady with a really strong character and an original script doesn't rely on James. I don't understand, where this is going.
It's called The Hunger Games.
I mean, Hollywood.
And it was great.
Hollywood, has tremendously gifted writers and others who could come up with a whole new series, a whole new character.
Yeah.
Do I care whether James Bond becomes Jane Bond? I don't really care.
I don't know that there need to be quotas in everything.
Right.
Janice, am I right here?
Oh, I'm so done. I'm so done with the. I mean, I understand it. I like girl power and all that. I like girls in science and math. But to see the girl Ghostbuster movie just to try to appease us. No, I want my James Bond. He's eye candy for me. I love Daniel Craig.
We could do Steel Magnolias, but just with dudes.
With dudes. Right. That'd be great. Or Terms of Endearment. So, very last question. We only have 10 seconds. Would she have the same vices as James Bond?
The term for a woman who beds half the cast and has 10 martinis before sundown is not secret agent.
Well done, Malice.
Nicely done.
You guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Michael, Mike, and Janice. What a great crew. Yeah. All right, coming up, New York's police commissioner says marijuana causes the vast majority of violence in the city.